Welcome everybody to my analysis of the second game of round 2 in the World Cup 2019 in Hann, Siberia, and I was playing against Nikita Vitiugov. This time with the black pieces after the first game in this match ended in a draw, so we will get right to it. Vitiugov started with e4 and I played solidly here. We're getting a Royal Lopez castle, and maybe you have seen my game against Pioriun in which I played bishop c5, and probably this is the move that Vitiugov prepared against here. So I decided to mix it up once again, play a different kind of Royal Lopez, and Vitiugov did not even want to find out which one I had planned and played d3, just like I had in the previous game against him. In the previous game, in this position, I played bishop d2, but obviously he did not repeat this because I would know how to react as I had prepared it with white. He played a different line here, a4, now bishop d7, and here the main move is c3. Vitiugov chose bishop e3, which is a very rare move in this position and not particularly critical, but it definitely got me out of my preparation and got me thinking early on. So I played knight a5, which makes a lot of sense, bishop a2, and here black could take the pawn on a4, but sooner or later white would win back the pawn, and then the pawn structure by black might be a little bit weakened. I played c5 right away, which is fine, but I think this could also wait and castle first would be a bit more precise. c5, knight c3, now I played b4 and knight d5. And here I played the move rook b8, which in hindsight is not very smart. I missed the answer pretty much. I thought it's a smart kind of waiting move to get out of the potential attack, but what I should do here is either castle right away or take on d5 and maybe follow up with bishop c6 should be also fine. However, I think in these positions white has a bit of an edge. So let's get back to a game. Rook b8 is also still fine, but after knight d2 I really played a bad move here. The move knight g4 attracted my attention with the intention to trade the bishop on e3, but this is just losing time and it's violating one important opening principle, which is don't move your pieces twice before you have finished your development. And clearly my king's still in the center, I have not castled yet, I should take care of that first. So one option would be to take on d5 and now play castle, and white could play with f4 here, but it's all not that critical yet. I can just go bishop e6 and the position is close to equal. So knight g4, knight c4, and here I realized I might be in trouble because my intention was to take, well, on e3, but now white is opening up the f-file, and if I take this one, then it's suddenly double attack. This pawn is hanging, as well as the threat of knight takes e7, and taking on f7 is in the air, so black would be losing a pawn. The alternative knight c6 is possible, but also here white keeps a very nice pressure with his pieces on the weakened squares. The queen can come to h5, looks also very pleasant for white. So I said, well, I'll play knight c6 right away, and now Vitiugov played bishop d2, and you can see this whole knight sortie with knight g4 just looks stupid. Here I played bishop e6, castle would have been another potential move. In any case, position is somewhat difficult already. Here white had a good way to continue with knight takes e7, queen takes e7, f3, knight f6 and bishop g5, pinning the knight and following up with f4, and this looks quite uncomfortable for black already. Instead, Vitiugov played f4 right away, which also looks strong. E takes f4, bishop takes f4, now knight ge5, and really felt like during the game my position is going to collapse any moment, but so far I'm hanging on and it's not too bad. Here Vitiugov chose the wrong trade on e5. He should take with the knight and keep his bishop here. He took with the bishop. The knight takes e5, d takes e5, bishop e3. White is also clearly better. He has this nice outpost for his pieces, whereas d4 can be controlled with a pawn. So bishop takes e5 was played, d takes e5, knight c e3. And here actually I'm close to equality again if I play bishop g5. I was considering this move, but honestly I don't remember anymore why I didn't play it. I want to finally castle, maybe that was the reason. So one point is here that if bishop c4, like Vitiugov played in the game, here I could take on e3 and we will get a very similar variation, and just with me sacrificing a pawn. Here after queen f3, bishop takes c4, d takes c4. Black's position has majorly improved. However, still white might keep a bit of an advantage in this position. So I castled right away, but now after bishop c4 I'm not in time anymore, and you know, I was not liking the trend this game was going, and I want to do something active, something dynamic. Objectively, not the best decision, but in the game also with time trouble slowly approaching, I think it was a good practical choice. Of course, I could play a move here like rook a8 or a5, but I felt like these are exactly the kind of positions that Vitiugov loves to play and is very good at. He has a nice positional edge with his well-placed pieces, and where's my counterplay? I don't have any counterplay. So I decided to mix it up and I played bishop g5, offering a pawn. And he took the pawn, which is correct. Now bishop takes e3, knight takes e3, queen d4. This was the idea, to attack the knight and the pawn on b2, but white can defend both with queen c1. And here, well, I played c4. Maybe better would have been to go knight a5 to prepare c4 once more, but also here certainly white has an advantage, but I keep the bishop, which really could be valuable in the future. For example, if I can bring it to this diagonal, push my pawns. And I think black certainly has practical chances because I have this huge kingside majority, and if I can get my pawns rolling, then I might open up the white king and really get some chances. That was also my reasoning in the game when I played c4. Now bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, d takes c4, and here I should take on e4 right away, but I did not want to allow white to stabilize his pawns like that, to have like a very solid mass on the queen side. On the other hand, I'm getting the square for my knight. White is much better here. Still, that was better than what I did in the game, because after b3, c3, queen takes e4, now we see the point, these pawns can potentially be weak, but I missed one very strong move here by white. And that's the move knight f5, very strong. Leaving this pawn on pre, but suddenly starting an attack of his own. If I take the pawn, then I'm just going to lose right away. Queen g5, knight h6 check, getting the king out, rook f3, and I have to give the queen to stop rook h3, so this is lost. So after knight f5, I was not feeling good, because I'm down a pawn, and now my opponent is attacking me as well. I played g6, and my opponent played knight d6, which is good. Better would have been even to go queen h6 still, sacrificing the knight and bringing the queen to f6, following up with rook e1. Queen takes c4, rook takes f5, threatening checkmate, and it's a very dangerous attack. This looks very promising for white. Knight d6 is more of a human move. Queen g4. I brought my queen back to e6, where it's kind of defending the queen side as well, and now I want to push my pawns in the future. c5, manifesting the strong knight on d6. Rook a8, that is strictly necessary, otherwise this pawn will just run up the board, I felt. So rook a8. And queen e4, that's fine. Rook a6, protecting the knight from the side. And here Vitiugov played a very strange move, king h1, where during the game I did not know what this is about. I was very happy to see this move because it gives me time. White should play a move like rook fd1, and you can see by the engine bar this position is pretty much winning for white. After king h1, however, you see the engine bar going down, I'm getting my chances. Black would be more or less in a kind of Zugzwang, maybe this was his intention, but I have the very natural move f5 and I'm happy to play this move to get my pawns going and to get some potential counterplay in the future. Queen d3, this is another not so great move because the queen will be attacked very soon again on this square. Queen should go to e3 or e2. Queen d3, rook a5, hitting the pawn on c5, knight b5, and here I was feeling like the trend is going for me, and I played one move too quick. Rook d8 looks very natural, bring the rook to open file with tempo, but e4 was much stronger. Why not e4 to play knight e5, knight d3 next? And who knows? I mean, this position, computer is still giving an edge for white. However, only move to keep an edge is queen d1, but now knight is coming to g4. I'm getting closer to the white king. I mean, who knows? Anything could happen in this position, I feel like. So I was a little bit bummed out after a game that I didn't play e4 here. Also during the game I felt, well, why did I play rook d8? Because in the end, I'm just inviting some trades here on the d file, and this is not to my benefit. Here I played e4, one move too late. Queen d5 would have been a better move. I did not like rook d1, take on d8, queen d1, double attack against b3 and d8. However, still this would have been a better way to play. And white still has to show some technique to convert this position. So I chose e4, and at this point we were also both fairly low on time. Rook fd1, trade, queen takes back, so the rook keeps defending the pawn. And here e3 or king g7 would have been better moves. I chose queen c4, which is pretty much losing, but I'm posing some practical problems, and in the end it worked out for me. Okay, one idea is the queen cannot invade right now because queen d6 is answered by queen takes b5, making use of the weak back rank. White would need to give some kind of perpetual here. Somehow you can still save this. Of course, a player of Vitiugov's caliber does not miss such an easy tactic, so he played h3. Which I expected, and now I played e3. So this was the idea, kind of to control the e2 square with my queen on c4. However, the big drawback is that I'm leaving these squares on d6 and d7 unattended, and now Vitiugov came in with queen d6. Queen d7 would have been much stronger to keep this square open for the knight. Queen takes c5, now rook to e1, stopping this counterplay with the e-pawn, rook a8, knight c7, rook d8, for example, queen e6, picking up this pawn, threatening knight e6. This is game over. One sample line. So queen d6 is also fine, and now queen e4, and it's the 40th move, the last move to make before new time is added half an hour. And Vitiugov played a quite natural move which looks very strong. Knight d4, but in fact it's a huge mistake. White has a number of winning moves here, knight c7, or even here still queen d7. The knight has to get closer to the black king, either via c7, e6 or queen d7, knight d6. And white should win. I think if Vitiugov had played either of these moves, he would have won this game. After knight d4, it's my 40th move, and well, the decision is not too difficult. I have to take this knight for sure. And here already the position is equal, as the engine bar is also indicating. Vitiugov took back with the pawn. If queen takes, it's very simple. This rook endgame is not promising anything because there will be a lot of trades. Rook e1, rook takes a4, rook takes e2, rook takes d4, and this is a draw. One important thing is that queen d8 check picks up the rook, yes, but I play knight to c2, supporting my dangerous passer on the e-file, and this would be once again a draw. So c takes c4, okay, threatening queen d8, that leaves only one move for me, rook a8 to save my rook, and now c6, makes a lot of sense why it is threatening c7 and queen d8, and this looks winning. But I was seeing from afar already that I have some potential counterplay here with my pawns myself. Now the big question, and this is a great training exercise for you, is should I play e2 or should I play f4? What is the right way to continue? So wonderful training opportunity for you here. Pause the video, take as much time as you want. One move loses, the other one draws, so figure it out. e2 loses. I did not see why during the game, but I saw that f4 is drawing, so I played f4. Why is e2 losing? It's very instructive. Rook e1, obviously, f4, c7, and now f3. So far so good. Threatening f2, so white goes queen d8, king g7, c8 queen, rook takes c8, and here's the important point. White doesn't take back the rook. Very cute detail. Taking back the rook loses after f2. But white gives a check first. Always have to check all candidate moves. White gives a check first and the king doesn't have a good spot. Obviously going back to the last rank, lose the rook with check. And going to h6 allows queen takes c8 and now f2, queen f8 check, picking up the pawn and winning. Black can still try queen f4 to once again have this idea. White has to find an only winning move here with queen e8, and now it's over. So f2 with queen d2, then there's queen f8 check and king g5, and now queen e7 check seals the deal. Because of the king h6, the queen can defend the rook, and now white just takes on f3 and is up a rook. So black should try f2, but now white just gives back the rook and gets to an endgame which is winning for white, queen a1, supporting the a pawn, and white should win this queen endgame. So I avoided that, fortunately, by going f4 immediately. c7, f3, and first this also looks winning for white, but there's a very important move here. So white queens gets the rook, I take on g2, king g1, king h2 allows an immediate draw by repetition. So king g1, and what now? What can black play now to secure the draw? Well, the queen needs to get to f2, that's clear. Queen f4 would be the wrong way, because white plays queen b7 check, picks up the pawn, defends against all checks, and is just winning. e2, by the way, is also not doing anything. White can just play queen c3, and that's it. The correct move is queen f3 to threaten queen f2. And white cannot control the square. Important here that the b3 pawn is taking the c2 square away. So queen c7 check, king h6, and now king h2. The queen defends against the checks on the h2 b8 diagonal, but I can continue with queen f1, threatening g1 queen. So queen g3, and now I'm getting back the rook. Vitiugov took on e3 with check. But here, this is just a draw. Because if white ever takes on g2, I'm happy to take on b2, and I have a very strong passer, so white always needs to give perpetual. And what else can white do? There's the threat of queen h1 as well. So Vitiugov gave a bunch of checks now, but there's not even a way for him to somehow get to a position where he can take the pawn on g2 with check. For example, here if I went to h5, then white could at least continue the game. However, even this would be a draw, so even this is nothing. But I said, why even give this to white? I just stepped on the right squares, and then we agreed to draw in this position. So a somewhat, I have to say, miraculous save for me against such a high-class player to save this, well, you have to say it as it is, clearly lost position. But I dug in there, always found some practical difficulties that I could pose, and then 40th move, mistake, and I'm quite happy that I had a clean calculation then to the end with f4, f3, that I found all the right moves that were there and could secure the draw in the end. So that meant the match was tied with 1-1. It went into the tie breaks, which was rapid chess. Once again, 2 games with each player playing black and white. And there I lost 0-2. The first game didn't go my way. I was playing with black, got into a passive position right out of the opening, and Vitiugov is very good in these kind of squeezing positions, and in the end game I couldn't hold it. I lost it. Then I had to go all out with white, but didn't really work out, and well, trying to get something, I also ended up in a lost position, and I lost that one as well. So I was out, which was a little bit sad, but overall I'm quite happy with my performance, obviously beating such a strong player as Naiditsch with 2-0, and then holding my own here against Vitiugov. And so I'm not too dissatisfied. Obviously I'm quite satisfied with my performance, and well, we'll see what is coming up next. So far, right now, virtually I have my absolute ELO peak with 26-37, which I think makes me number 3 or 4 in Germany. I'm quite happy about this development, and I hope I can keep it up in the next tournaments. Alright, if you have any questions about this or anything else about the World Cup, just put it below. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed my coverage of the World Cup, of the Polish Extra League, and I'm sure more game analysis will come in the future. So if you are not subscribed yet, make sure to do that right now and hit the bell so you are notified when I publish new videos. See you next time. Bye bye.